data we're sending, so that should work. All right. Morning, everybody. Glad y'all are here with us. I will say a few announcements first, just so like y'all get double reminders. Next Sunday's Easter, obviously. But then May the 4th, we're doing our church picnic, okay? And this year, which is going to be a Sunday, right? And this year, it's going to be an actual picnic. So like your family packs a lunch, and like you bring it and we eat it, okay? It's like that's how we're going to do it, all right, just so you know. And then, of course, we're going to have our annual wiffle ball game, which me and Case got to seek revenge because Dakota's been taunting me the whole year. Okay, so anyways, it's pretty epic, yeah. So, but we'll announce it today. All right, we got to get focused because we've got session number 33 of our last days series, and this is going to be the mystery of the woman and the beast. Session number 33. Okay, so I'll open us up a word of prayer, and then we'll dive right into it. Okay. Lord, we thank you for the opportunity that we have to gather to study your word. I'm just encouraged by those that are here with us today and their desire to study. And I just pray that more churches would do this. Unfortunately, it seems like a lot of Sunday school classes are not diving into the word. So I hope that we can help set a trend to where more are being diligent students. And so with that, we thank you for the opportunity we have. In Christ's name I pray. Amen. All right, so this is our 33rd session now of the Last Days series. We are closing in fast on the end of Revelation. We'll be there, I don't know, in a couple months or so probably. It just depends on how things progress. But you will recall in the previous session number 32, John sees a vision of, let's just use nice words right now, a woman and a beast, okay? And this woman sat upon the beast, and he's kind of, wow, what is this? I don't know. And the woman has a name on her forehead, Mystery Babylon the Great. And this woman's described as being very wealthy. She's dressed in scarlet and purple, and she has precious jewelry that she wears. She has a golden cup full of the wine of her wickedness, fornication, those things. And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And anyways, we look at all that and we say, maybe there is a woman that John is seeing, but there is something bigger to the picture here, right? And the beast she's sitting on, we've seen a beast very similar to this, one that rises up out of the sea, 7 heads, 10 horns. We're putting these things together. Not 10 horns as in like, you put over like a draw, like I'm talking about 10 as in a number. By the way, we're looking for a 10 horn. If you have a lead, be sure to let me know. So chapter 17, we are going to be now getting into the mystery of the beast, okay? So if we go back over here to our passage, it says, "And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration." Now, let's keep in mind, King James Version here, when you see English words today, we got teachers in here and just those who associate with children, so words will have all sorts of different meanings as time goes on. But admiration here, don't read it as, wow, what a lovely lady. Wow, what an amazing sight to see. It's an admiration that can be either positive or negative. Obviously, in this context, it's negative, but it's admiration. He's amazed at it. And it sounds like it's quite an image to see. And verse 7, "The angel said unto me," one of the angels that had one of the 7 vials, said unto me, "Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast, and that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns." So, once again, please, I want you to recognize patterns here. Revelation does this a lot, but I think the Bible does it in general. You get a vision. You get something, it's hard to understand. It's kind of strange to even consider. And then there's an explanation often given that follows. All right, so John sees the image. What could this be? We've got a woman. We've got a beast. What is going on? And then verse 7 says, "I will tell you the mystery." All right, so what we're going to get here is, like I said in our slide here, we are going to begin with the mystery of the beast. That's actually who the angel begins to discuss first, and then we'll wrap up with the woman, okay? So we're going to look at the meaning of the mystery. So this is where we're going to have to do some speculating, okay? So put on your spectacles. Looks like only Monica did. I put in my contacticals today. So the beast that thou sawest was. So make notes here. He was, and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. Let's just stop right there and kind of take what we have so far. There's a few different theories that we can go with here. Obviously, our good friends who are the preterists and the biblical allegoricalist will try to equate this to something that happened in the past. I'm saying no. I think this is a future event. It's future prophetic age. But the beast that thou sawest was. How could that be the case? In what sense was the beast was? I will remind you, if we consider Revelation 13:3, so let's go ahead and do our split screen here. And we do Revelation 13:3. This is the chapter that the beast is introduced. Remember, that's when he sees the beast coming up out of the sea. And says, and I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death. Okay? Now, I think that we're going to see, as the chapter progresses, a little bit of a spoiler here, the heads represent kings. All right? The heads represent kings. And one of the heads, let's just do it like this, one of the kings is wounded to death. All right? Either he actually dies or he seems like he dies. And then this king and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. So we already have seen this copying, this mimicry of Christ's crucifixion. And so we're expecting, hey, this is something that Satan's going to do. Satan's already mimicked God in a number of ways before. In times past, he'll do it again. Even like our last Sunday sermon, we talked about Jerusalem versus Babylon. Like, God has a city that he built. Satan has a city that he built, essentially, right? So if we go back over here and we consider, in light of 13:13, the beast that thou sawest was. What if he is saying, the king you saw died, right? He was, and is not. He's dead right now, okay? And we're having to think, all right, it seems like maybe the tense or the timing that John is having this vision is in that moment, right? The beast has been wounded as to death. He was, he is not. And then he shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. Kind of a strange statement there. Also down here towards the bottom, at the very end of the verse, just to jump ahead, it says, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. That's kind of the picture here. This beast, he was, maybe he's died, he's currently not living, and then he will be. Let me give you my theory, okay? We've already looked at, and we're putting a lot of things together. You've been with us for a lot of study, right? We know that the writings of Paul in 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, we will not have the day of the Lord, the days of tribulation, until that man of sin is revealed, until he is released, right? He is currently being held captive. And we speculate, where is he being held captive at? Well, I think it's here. He is being held captive in the bottomless pit, right? And there is a day when he shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. We've already speculated a little bit when the Antichrist will come. Was that? Oh, okay. If y'all have a question, just let me know. It's fine. Remember going back to Revelation 9:1? And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key to the bottomless pit. We know that there's a war for heaven. Satan loses. He's cast out of heaven. What if this is Satan? And he is given authority. Go ahead, Satan. Take the keys to the bottomless pit. And he opens the bottomless pit. And the smoke comes out, and we see that demonic army ascend upon the earth and torment men for 5 months. Well, what if what we see, putting the pieces together here, is you have a man, okay? And at the time, he's just a man. This is the picture I'm going to give you here. He rises to great power, right? He's one of the kings over one of the nations, whether whether it's Rome, Turkey, you name it, right? Great king, or at least a nation that's in that area. And he brings in peace on the earth, right? He's the rider on the white horse that you see in the very first seal of the book, right? Then he is killed. Maybe he's killed in battle. Maybe, world leaders are never assassinated, right? So maybe he's assassinated, or at least he appears to be killed, appears to be assassinated, and therefore he was and is not. All right? This king. And he's just a man at the time. But when you get to the halfway point of the tribulation, or at least when the tribulation officially begins, you have the spirit of the Antichrist descend out of the bottomless pit. And remember just how Satan entered into Judas when he betrayed Jesus. You read that in John. This is what will happen. The spirit of the Antichrist enters into the slain king, or appears to be slain, however we want to take that. And then he comes back miraculously, and what does the world do? As we read in Revelation 13, the world wonders, right, and marvels. Wow, he has come back. He has returned. He was, he is not, and yet will be, right? That's kind of the picture I'm going to give you here. The other possibilities are, it's my speculation that we have historical people like Nimrod, like Judas, and there's another one that you don't know near as well. It's in 1 Samuel. Bible story that you probably don't remember. David is not yet king. He's running from Saul, okay? And in the days of Old Testament Israel, they didn't have the temple yet. Remember, Solomon's the one that built the temple. And the priests lived, many of them lived in Nob, okay? A lot of the Levitical priests. Well, Saul, others get word, the priests helped David. He came, they gave him protection. And David at that time had left and was in the mountains, actually hiding in the cave of Adullam. There you go, there's your Jeopardy question. And there was a particular Israelite named Doeg, all right? And Doeg, in a single day, all on his own, slays 84 priests. And it's not a picture like the priests are just lined up. He just takes the sword and just begins to slaughter them, and they can't stop him. Sounds a little bit supernatural to me. My point in saying all this is, yes, there will be a future day when the Antichrist arises on the earth, but I think Satan's tried it before. I think he's tried it with Nimrod when he builds the city of Babel. I think he's tried it before maybe with the king of Tyre. You read about in Ezekiel describing this king of Tyre, but at the same time he was in the garden. He saw the precious stones. He was given this great wisdom, all these things. I think Satan's tried this before. Think about the original act of deception. Did God really say that? Hath God really said, you shall not eat of the tree? Satan has a playbook, and he runs his plays, and his plays often work. So maybe we could read this as, hey, the beast has been on the earth before. Certainly, I think with Judas. Judas is the Antichrist right there. Satan embodied, betrays Christ. He's been here before. He's not in this moment, but he will be. He will ascend out of the bottomless pit. So there's a couple different ways you could take it. Neither, I think, are going to lead you astray. Now, you know why verse 8 is so in-depth there? Like I'm having to spend some time talking about it. Now, once again, let's do a little bit of expository teaching for a moment. All right, so expository teaching is like, hey, how does this apply to you or help you in any way? Because this is all future, I'm going to say it's pointless now for us to be speculating because we just cannot know, and it's not really for our time. I think world leaders can do a whole lot of bad on their own without having to be the Antichrist embodied, okay? So just because if there was a world leader today, let's say he was in the Middle East, maybe he was Turkey, in the region of Turkey, like Erdogan, a lot of people think that he's the leader of Turkey and they think he's the Antichrist. Even if there was one that comes out of Israel, right, who people believe are the Messiah, I'm not really going to panic yet because, truth be told, we're not in this program yet. That's all prophecy. We're still in mystery. Okay, until our opportunity of salvation by grace through faith is over and the age of prophecy is reinstituted, which is not going to happen until after we are caught up. That's 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. I'm not playing the game of like speculating and wondering. There's some people that do. I mean, you could talk to a lot of preachers today and they would say, oh, so-and-so is the Antichrist, right? Oftentimes it's whoever is the opposing political party that they don't like, right? But so-and-so is the Antichrist. I'm not worried about it. So when you read this, don't be reading this and trying to put on the biblical interpretation goggles to understand it. I think this is still future, and it's much more as we progress. You'll see, it sounds like these are for people who are living in that day, and you'll know it when you see it, kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and go from there. The beast shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. Perdition's judgment. Sometimes it's translated as what's another term? Damnation is another time it's appeared, but it's a word that judged, destruction, things like that. So take comfort in that. Revelation is not like leaving you on the edge of your seat, like how is this all going to play out? He's going to be destroyed. This also, in 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, there's a number of times when you see that word perdition. First of all, though, let me say this. Talking about Judas, so John 17, verse 12, this is Jesus praying for his disciples. And this is what Jesus says. While I was with them in the world, I kept them in my name, or in thy name. Those that thou gavest me, I have kept. Now, notice I've already framed this as the disciples because that's exactly who it is. So many preachers, especially those who are Calvinists, will read us into this. That this is us. He has those that the Father gave me, like we've been given to God the Father, and all these things. Just no. Read the Bible. These are the disciples. And as this goes on here, and none of them is lost. Look at what he says here. But the son of perdition, that the scripture might be fulfilled. I mean, who's this? This is Judas. This is the one that Satan enters into, and he is described as the son of perdition. So going back to kind of my case that, hey, we've had the Antichrist on the earth before, people. I think there you go. That he's the son of perdition. He's the son of destruction. Other places that you'll see the reference to perdition, obviously 2 Thessalonians, not second these, 2 Thessalonians 2:3, which Paul writes, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day, which is the tribulation, the day of the Lord, shall not come except there come a falling away first. Some preachers say that's the rapture. The word is it's what we get apostate from. Apostia, I think, is maybe the Greek word there. It means a leaving. If you are apostate, you have left. So they argue, well, the most literal meaning is, the believers, the saved, they leave. So they must leave first. Also, it's not, I don't go to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3 to build my rapture case. I think there's other verses to go to. But anyways, but there must come a falling away, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, the revealing of the Antichrist. There you go. I think, did we have another one? That may be the main two verses speaking to the son of perdition. And so he will come to ruin. Now let's go ahead and focus back here on verse 8 specifically. A few things I want you to note. One reason why we're having to talk about verse 8 so much is it's a long verse. All right, so like if you want to make a challenge for yourself, your memory verse of the week, there you go. Pick this one if you want to. You'll have better luck with the King James because it reads like poetry. Here we go. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder. Now, the phrase "and they that dwell on the earth" is oftentimes like the peoples of the earth phrase. It's not describing the saved people or Israel. It's just it's disobedient man. So they will wonder. Once again, remember, it seemed like he was dead. He was. He is not. He will be. The people will wonder. Whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world. So, we are talking about the people whose names are not written in the book of life. they are going to marvel. They're going to wonder. The people whose names are in the book of life, they are not buying it, right? They're not going to be deceived. They're going to reject him. They're going to recognize this is the beast. This is the false prophet. This is the work of Satan. We must endure to the end, okay? How many of you have heard your name's written in the book of life? Right? We've all heard that, okay? One of our favorite praise songs. I really like to hear Monica sing it just because I feel like she could really deliver on it. There's a new name written down in glory. You got to do the not Ori, but glory.
I did try to find a Jody Messia.
Oh yeah, that would be good. Please, if you can find a way. Or just sing it in the form of Jody Messina. Anyways.
That background.
Yeah, you do. You need it. But yeah, the idea of new name written down in glory, that actually is from an older hymn too. There's a new name written down in glory, and it's mine. Oh, yes, it's mine. And so we have this doctrine that, hey, the book of life is the name, or it's the book that contains the names of all saved people. Okay? I'm going to tell you that you've heard me preach on this before probably a number of times. When I see the book of life, with the exception of one verse, written by the Apostle Paul, specifically referencing specific people. It's not even used in a general sense. Paul uses it in a very specific sense for a couple people. It's always Old Testament Israel or the book of Revelation. I would just highly encourage you to say, I don't think there's enough in the Bible for us to say the book of life is for us. Okay? Also, when you see the book of life, there's the warning of being blotted out of it. And what most of evangelicalism, Southern Baptists, what have you, have done is said, well, I know it says you can be blotted out, but that's more of a hypothetical. You can't actually be blotted out of the book of life, right? Because once saved, always saved. I just don't like that answer. I think it's much better to say, when I see it, it's in the context of Israel, it's in the context of the tribulation, and I think it's better for us to not say that is for us. Because you'll create confusion. In the case of Paul, I think he was talking about some Jews that were ministering with him in his day. Okay, and so that would apply to them because they are of Israel. Now, there is another line here that our good Calvinist friends who are all around us, in very literal sense. There's a lot of Calvinist churches in southeast Oklahoma. It's just how it is. Hey, how are you? Anyways, got distracted there. Where was I? Okay. From the foundation of the world. That line is used by Calvinists to say their names were written from the foundation of the world. Pointing to, hey, God chose who he was going to save, and therefore he wrote their names down, and they are not going to marvel at the beast, right? They're going to be kept, they're going to be preserved. And they've convinced a lot of people. I've heard that argument made. There's a couple things that I would say why I don't take that position. First of all, you do have the weaker argument, but you can make it and say, well, God knows all things. He knows who's going to be saved. He knows who's going to accept. And if he knows that you're going to accept it, he went ahead and wrote your name down. So that position right there does not necessitate Calvinism, right? You can work around it. I will say, and I've tried to look at it in the Greek. I've looked at the gender. I've looked at the case. I've looked at all that. I'm not convinced on my limited knowledge of Greek right now, and also the scholars I've read, that this from the foundation of the world is absolutely referring to the names being written in the book. Okay? I think it could absolutely still be referring to the book itself. The book is from the foundation of the world. All right? That doesn't necessitate that the names were written in it from the foundation of the world. Okay? So like I said, I really did try to look at the Greek and see, because I'm going to let it say what it says. There's another verse that uses that line from the foundation of the world in Revelation, and it's Revelation chapter 13 again. Revelation 13, verse 8. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life. And then you have of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. Okay, so what do we do with that? Because if you just read it, it sounds like the Lamb has been slain from the foundation of the world. Christ wasn't slain from the foundation. He was slain when he came and took on flesh. And Yeah, it is. So some will say, well, the blood of Christ has been effectual all the way back to the very beginning of the world. That's why Adam and Eve all trusted in the gospel and were saved by grace through faith, and they build that argument. I think that it creates a whole host of theological issues when you try to say, well, the blood of Christ works the same way for us all the way back in the beginning. Because then why do we have the sacrificial system? Why do we have the obligations to endure to the end? Why is there a warning that he that sins against me will be blotted out of the book of life? There's a number of problems, I think, when you try to build a major doctrine out of this verse. And I think that's what a lot of Calvinism does. They build major doctrines out of a verse. Okay? Here's what I'm going to say. I think even here, from the foundation of the world, still could be in the context of the book, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. Because it's the book of the life of the Lamb slain, right? So I'm just going to say, I don't think you have enough ground in the Greek to argue that this clearly says the names were already written in. But here's the thing. I don't think it really matters. Because, like I said, the book of life is not something for saved people today. It's for Israel. God did foreknow that he would call Israel the children of Israel. And so it doesn't create a Calvinist dilemma for me, okay? Does that make sense? Am I explaining myself well? So anyways, I just want to make that note because when you look up Calvinism, they will reference Revelation 17, verse 8. And for you guys that do have kids, as they get older, and hopefully, they have other kids that they're around that go to church, at least that's a good thing, right? If they go to the Calvinist church, those things will start to come up. Like, you'll have kids, like, what I debated a lot with other kids was, can you lose your salvation, right? That was the thing we debated a lot when I was in school. But now, I mean, as popular as Calvinism's got, the debate could be, does God choose people to be saved or does he not, right? And does God choose some people not to be saved? So it's gonna be something that you need to be prepared for if you are having conversations with kids. And here's the thing. State Department of Education, whoever. If the children bring it up, you can discuss it, all right? They're not forcing their religious, views upon them. If kids ask about it when you're around them in school or what have you, you'll be equipped, you'll be ready, you'll be able to have those conversations. So latch on to these things that I'm giving you. I'm trying to give you some ammunition here. We're shooting hollow points too, no full metal jackets. That's really good joke, I thought. All right, now let's go ahead and move on to verses 9 through 11. Verses 9 through 11 begin with a preface, okay? And I think we need to make serious note of that preface. Otherwise, we may make a mistake. It says, and here is the mind which hath wisdom. All right? The mind that is revealing this, okay? And also maybe even the mind that perceives this. It takes wisdom, okay? I think that we will not be able to, at least my opinion is, we will not be able to see and understand what we're reading here in our time, okay? I think we have the outline for it, but I think you're going to have to be in the day, or when we are past that point and we're looking back on eternity, we'll be able to comprehend it, okay? Just like if you did not have the New Testament and you started reading the Old Testament scriptures, you may not put together, oh yeah, Messiah needs to die and be buried and rise again. Now, are the scriptures there? Absolutely they are. But we have the benefit of knowing how everything has turned out. I think probably once Revelation is fulfilled in that day, we'll be able to read these verses and we'll be able to say, yep, that makes perfect sense. I can see where that was going, but only now, right? So with that being said, here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. Okay, now there's some ways that this is taken. The 7 heads that the beast has are 7 mountains. There will be some say, well, this city has 7 mountains, this city has 7 mountains. I mean, I think Israel, like Jerusalem, has roughly 7 mountains you could point out in its vicinity. So it just becomes a game of speculation. I'm going to say I think the number 7 is the key, not so much what it says here in verse 9. Because it says, the woman sits on these 7 mountains, verse 10, and there are 7 kings. I'm going to say, we've already seen that the 7 heads represent 7 kings. So I wouldn't read too much about the mountains there as making that literal. Remember, waters in this chapter also refer to nations, to people. So if waters refer to peoples, perhaps mountains are still in a figurative manner referring to kings. And like I said, we're having to try to speculate, so when it's all said and done, we'll probably have the full picture. And there are 7 kings. Now, here's where things get kind of confusing, but let's work through it. 5 are fallen. Sounds to me like they're dead. Okay? There were 5. Now they're gone. And 1 is, so there's 1 king that's still standing, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. A lot of this I'm just going to tell you, I don't know exactly the details. How did they fall? When did they fall? Who is the one that's still standing? And the other is not yet come? I mean, how does that work? I am going to try to put together verse 10 and 11 for you, okay? And just give you my guesstimation, all right? So when we put verse 10 and 11 together, here's what it says. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th. Okay, so here we have an 8th king now, okay? But not only is he the 8th, and is one of the 7. Makes perfect sense, right? He's the 8th, but also he's one of the 7. And goeth into perdition. So we're still talking about the beast here, right? The beast that was. So there's the mud puddle theory, right? Have y'all heard of that before? When I was in chemistry at Carl Albert, my chemistry teacher was named Mr. Hughes. He was actually a Baptist preacher over at Calhoun, up there by Podo. And when you're trying to, y'all remember balancing chemical equations? Y'all remember those? That was fun, right? Just how you love to pass your time balancing chemical equations. Right. Yeah, it's kind of fun. It's like a puzzle. When you are balancing chemical equations, you'll like try to fix this one, and then when you fix this one, it causes the other one to get messed up, right? And you just keep going back and forth, and you can't fix it. And he says it's like when you stomp around in a mud puddle, because when you stomp around in a mud puddle, it gets all cloudy, and you no longer can see anything. You got to step back and let it settle. All right. I would apply the same focus to studying the Bible as well. You can get so much in the weeds, like okay, all right, there's 5 fallen. And then 1 is, so that's 6, and the other's not yet come, so there's 7. Like, just hold on a second and just look at the big picture, okay? So let's do that. Let's let the mud puddle settle, and let's just look at it. We have 7 kings to account for, and there are 5 that are fallen, so let's not even worry about those, okay? We've only got 2 kings left to worry about, so we've taken our number from 5 to 2. 1 is. So it sounds like whenever John is writing here, there is a king that is in authority. Okay? There's a king that's in authority. And the other, he's not come yet. So there's 1 to come after him. Now, I'm going to ignore this part here. He must continue a short space. That doesn't affect me too much right now. I want to see how this verse fits in. So the beast that was, we're assuming that he appeared to die in some sense, right? And is not, so he's not alive at the time, even he is the 8th. So if there's 1 that is not, and there's 1 that is still to come, that would be the 2 in addition to 5. So now we're at 7, right? Somehow the beast stands alone from the 7, because he is labeled as 8. At the same time, he is one of the 7.
But could he have been one of the 5 that are fallen?
There you go, right? That's a very good observation. So, one of those 5 kings that have fallen, is it possible that he will be resurrected, and he will maybe he is somehow the one that is not yet come, right? One of the kings, that 5 of them have fallen. 1 is, and the other is not yet come, and yet somehow he is of the 7, and he's also separate from all the others, which means he's also kind of the 8th, because he's not really even like the others, because he's the Antichrist incarnate. And he goes into perdition. So with that being said, I don't have much more to tell you, because I don't know what the geopolitics is going to be. I don't know what nations are going to be in place. I don't know exactly how all this is going to play out. It's quite perplexing, but I think we can say that the Antichrist is going to rise out of a world leader. And so when you do have people, like we kind of joke a little bit, how they're speculating, is that the Antichrist? Is that the Antichrist? They're coming from a good position because they've read enough to say, hey, somehow, some way, the Antichrist is coming out of a president, out of a king, out of a ruler, out of a prince, something, right? That's what they're looking for. And we have these very fascinating verses. Now, let's go ahead and wrap up this chapter because it'll go really quick. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings. Okay. These are different kings. They're not of the 7 or the 8th, which would be the Antichrist. They're their own kings. And it says, which have received no kingdom as yet. They don't have any power. They're not given any authority yet. But receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. That's a very short amount of time, right? To have power for 1 hour. I'm just going to take it literally. Sounds like, hey, there's a brief moment that they get a kingdom, that they get power. Now, here's what's going to happen with these 10 kings. These have one mind. They're all going to be in agreement. They're all going to form an alliance, okay? I mean, picture NATO, the allies of World War II, the Axis powers of World War II, whatever, imagery you want to use, they're going to come together and they're going to form their own United Nations. I'm not saying these are the United Nations. I'm saying it's like that. They're going to come to each other's aid. They have one goal. They have one objective, all right? And I think at this time, really the only other king you would have standing other than these 10 are going to be, or is going to be, the Antichrist, right? Because the other 5 have fallen. The one is, the other has not yet come. So you have the beast, the Antichrist, maybe your one world order. And then he's going to give power to 10 kings. He's going to maybe promote them, right? Give them these powers, give them these authority, and they are going to have one mind, and they're going to give their power and strength unto the beast. So they're going to form this alliance. What is the purpose of the alliance? These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. This is the battle of Armageddon. So I think what you have here is, even though we have a lot of the details that are hard to follow, kind of leaving us scratching our heads, we've got, when we reach the final days, you've got the one Antichrist, the king over all. He will give power to 10 kings. And the 10 kings in return will give them all the resources that he has. There is some things in the book of Daniel that talk about the king of the south and the king of the north, and there's some struggle going on there, like the Antichrist is kind of fighting to keep his one world order. And we can kind of picture that. I mean, there's, there was somebody who tried to set up a one world order today, even if they weren't, good church saved people, there would be the hillbillies and whatnot want to fight, okay? Like you're not going to take me down, right? I'm not going to bow to you. So he will maybe finally consolidate humanity, right? He'll finally get his brief pact, no more rebellion, no more people trying to come against him. He gets everybody to come together. They pull all their resources to make war. So they're going to march on Israel to destroy them. For he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him, these are the ones with Christ, are called, I think that's Israel, chosen and faithful. These are his saints, the ones that he has preserved. Verse 15, and he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. That's the picture that he saw when he originally saw the woman and the beast. There were the waters. And so it's all these people. Now, are you ready for your plot twist? Remember, we've already said that the woman is Babylon, I believe, the city. All the people of the earth are going to go to her. They will buy, they will sell, they will engage in all sorts of unrighteousness. They'll commit fornications with her. I mean, it will be the international sin city, right? Everybody will adore Babylon. And in a strange turn of events, God is going to use man and kings to destroy the city. Look at this, verse 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, These shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. They're going to turn against her. Now, we could speculate their motives, but the ultimate reason is because God does it. Verse 17, for God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of God shall be fulfilled. So they will decide, hey, Babylon in and of itself, we're speculating a little bit, but maybe it's too great, it's too powerful. We need to tear it all down. We're going to give all of our resources, all of our power to the beast to let him lead us. Maybe that was the agreement, right? I give you power, you give me all the resources you have. There can be no other great city standing. So they tear Babylon apart. They burn it to the ground. I wrote a little bit more about it. It's possible that maybe they had a moment of clarity. And hey, this city's made us look like a bunch of fools. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there's blackmail going on. Hey, we have all sorts of things that you kings have been doing. I have no clue, but it's not outside the realm of possibility here. And they're going to turn against the city to destroy it. It's almost like, remember when we were talking about the vials and all the events of tribulation kind of parallel the plagues of Egypt? And God hardening Pharaoh's heart to get him to do what he wants. That's kind of the picture you have there. And so, anyways, we have just a couple verses left, verses 17 and 18. So God has put it in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast. If you need to go, you can. It's fine, Monica. Yeah, you're good. And so God does this. He brings about the destruction of Babylon until the words of God shall be fulfilled. And then finally we get to verse 18, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. So I'm just going to take it to be the beast is the Antichrist, and the woman is the city of Babylon. Just taking it very straightforward. So we've been given the mystery of the beast, the mystery of the city, right? The mystery of the woman. And with that being said, there's a lot there in that chapter that you... so agile. There's a lot in that chapter that we're saying.
See me right after the 4-year-old.
There's a lot that we have to say. I don't know, but I think that what we can say is, hey, there's enough information there. I can get a picture of all this and see how some of this is going to play out. Now, what's going to happen here is in chapter 18, we're actually going to see the destruction of Babylon itself. We're not going to do it today, but the city being destroyed. And then we're going to get into chapter 19, which is the triumphant return of Christ. Do y'all have anything before I let you go? I know we went a little bit long today, but I wanted to really go ahead and knock out this chapter because there was a lot. So
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
In regards to Revelation. So, like we've been talking about as being saved by grace.
Yes.
Our time will come to an end. What about the Gentile who are not saved at that point? Because we're talking a lot about Israel.
Yes.
And how this applies to Israel. How would that apply to non?
The only way that you will be able to be in right standing with God in the tribulation is you will need to not take the mark of the beast. You cannot worship his image. And the acts of deception by the Antichrist will be so great, the vast majority of the world, I think, will be deceived. But for those who can put two and two together, those who realize this actually is the book of Revelation coming true, they are going to acknowledge there's a one true God. They're obedient, not love their lives unto death, and so they'll be willing to be killed for it. And you'll almost just kind of live a Jewish life. Like you'll not bow down to graven images. You will probably try to be obedient to the commandments that are given. So there will be a route for Gentiles in that day. It'll be very difficult though for all people. Not only Gentiles but Israel as well, because there will be a lot of Israel that does not.
Right.
They will be deceived. They will worship the Antichrist. So it'll be the kind of the same method.
Like the Left Behind series, which was big when I was in high school.
Yeah.
And I, read most of them. I got bored of eventually because it just kept on.
There's a chapter that Jesus, there's a chapter, the words of Jesus in the Gospel of Matthew, talking about the sheep and the goats. A lot of times that's taken to be the sheep are Israel and the goats are not Israel. But I've actually read it and I see it as the sheep actually were caring for Israel. That there were sheep that were, even Jesus says, I have sheep that are not of this fold. There's ways you could take that to be either those are the tribes of Israel not living in the land at the time, or it could be in the days of the tribulation, the people who are not naturally born Jewish, but care for Israel and don't bow down and worship the Antichrist in the days of the tribulation. So there's absolutely a case to be made for Gentiles coming in. In the Old Testament, too, there's prophecies about Gentiles entering into the kingdom as well. So not everybody will worship the beast, but many, many will. It's a good question. All right, I'd better let you go. We're running out of time. I'll pray real quick. Lord, thank you for the time we've had to dive into this interesting discussion. So much of it we're having to speculate and not fully know, but I do hope that we would take a little bit of peace knowing that these are not the times we live in. It doesn't mean that we can't face hard times and persecution, but we're not living in the age of the tribulation. And so we don't need to be worried, fretting about who the Antichrist might be. And also I hope that maybe we've taken away that there's arguments made for supporting a Calvinist doctrine, but that's not the direction that we need to go with the Scriptures. And with that, we thank you, and it's in Christ's name I pray. Amen. Thank y'all. That was a lot today. Y'all were troopers.